Imagine this. You're not in your living room anymore. You're standing barefoot in a dense, humid forest, somewhere in what will one day be called North America. The trees are unlike anything you've ever seen. Towering ferns stretch 30 feet into the sky. Insects the size of your hand buzz past your ear. The air smells of moss and thunder. Suddenly, everything goes still. The birds, if you can even call them that, stop singing. The ground vibrates. A shadow moves between the trees, massive, graceful, and terrifying. And right in front of you emerges a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Its eyes scan the landscape, not looking for you, looking for its lunch. But what if, instead of being the lunch, you were the predator? It's a wild thought, right? Could a human ever eat a dinosaur? Could our ancestors have taken down one of these prehistoric giants, roasted its meat over a fire, and tasted the flesh of an animal that ruled the earth for millions of years? At first glance, the answer seems obvious. No, that's ridiculous. Dinosaurs went extinct 66 million years ago. Humans only showed up about 300,000 years ago. Case closed. But not so fast. What if we're asking the wrong question? Because while humans never hunted T-Rex with spears, there were animals that survived the mass extinction. Animals that evolved, changed, shrunk, grew feathers, animals that still live among us. And what if I told you, you're probably eating dinosaurs today without even realizing it? In this episode, we'll dig into the fossil record, dissect evolutionary science, and uncover the strange truth behind one of the internet's weirdest questions. Did humans ever eat dinosaurs? And if they didn't, why does your dinner taste suspiciously like chicken? Let's find out. Humans and dinosaurs. Did they ever live together? All right, let's get something straight before we all grab our spears and go dinosaur hunting. Humans never lived alongside non-avian dinosaurs. I know it's a bit of a buzzkill. No cavemen riding triceratops, no tribal humans running from velociraptors, despite what movies, cartoons, and even some ancient-looking museum murals have suggested. That kind of cross-era action never happened. Let's break this down scientifically because the real story is just as fascinating. The dinosaur timeline. Dinosaurs ruled the Earth during what scientists call the Mesozoic era. That's a time span of roughly 180 million years, broken down into three distinct periods. Triassic, about 201 million years ago. Jurassic, 145 million years ago. Cretaceous, 66 million years ago. These weren't just the ages of big lizards. This was a time when the continents were shifting, sea levels were rising and falling, and entire ecosystems, completely different from anything we know today, were evolving and collapsing in cycles we're only beginning to understand. At the end of the Cretaceous period, around 66 million years ago, the world changed forever. A massive asteroid, roughly the size of Mount Everest, slammed into what's now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The impact was so intense, it caused global wildfires, acid rain, blocked sunlight for months, and created a nuclear winter-like scenario. This event, known as the Chicxulub impact, wiped out nearly 75% of all life on Earth, including the non-avian dinosaurs. Gone. Just like that. Now, enter humans, much, much later. Fast forward about 65 million years. Only then do we start seeing the first early hominin distant ancestors showing up in the fossil record. The earliest members of the Homo genus, the lineage that leads directly to us, didn't appear until roughly 2.5 million years ago. And Homo sapiens, the species you and I belong to, were babies in geological time. We've only been around for about 300,000 years. That's right. If Earth's history were compressed into a 24-hour clock, non-avian dinosaurs went extinct around 10:40 p.m., and humans didn't show up until 11:58 p.m. We missed each other. Completely. Like two trains passing on separate tracks, separated by tens of millions of years. But wait, what about cave paintings? Legends? Internet theories? There's a popular fringe theory that pops up every now and then, especially online. Ancient humans did live with dinosaurs, but the fossils were buried or misdated, or the evidence has been suppressed. Let's be clear, there is zero credible scientific evidence to support this claim. No fossils of humans and dinosaurs have ever been found in the same geological layers. Dinosaurs are found in strata from the Mesozoic era. Human fossils are found in much, much younger layers. Pleistocene, Holocene, they're not even remotely close. And cave paintings? Some tribal art does depict large reptilian creatures, sure, but cultural memory, artistic interpretation, and imagination don't equal paleontological proof. Science works through patterns, evidence, and carbon dating, and every line of data screams the same truth. Humans and dinosaurs missed each other, by a long shot. But didn't we live with some giant creatures? Yes, and this is where it gets cool. While we never shared the Earth with T-Rex or Brachiosaurus, we did coexist with some terrifyingly huge creatures during the Pleistocene epoch, also known as the Ice Age. Imagine waking up next to a woolly mammoth, closely related to modern elephants, saber-toothed cat, aka Smilodon, with fangs as long as your hand, giant ground sloth, some the size of modern bears, short-faced bear, one of the largest mammalian land predators ever. These were megafauna, and yes, humans did hunt and eat some of them. We left cut marks on their bones, and their remains have been found in ancient butchering sites. But here's the key difference. These giants were mammals, part of a very different evolutionary tree. They had nothing to do with dinosaurs. A final nail in the dino-human timeline myth. One of the most powerful tools we have to map the past is radiometric dating specifically, techniques like carbon-14 and potassium-argon dating. These allow scientists to pinpoint the age of fossils and rocks with remarkable accuracy. Using this, we know for certain that the last of the non-avian dinosaurs died tens of millions of years before the first humans or even primates appeared. It's not a matter of belief. It's a matter of cold, geological fact. So now there was no time in history where humans and non-avian dinosaurs looked each other in the eye. No spears thrown at stegosaurs. No fires lit beneath Triceratops' ribs. The timelines simply never crossed. But the story's not over. Because while we never shared time with the classic thunder lizards of our childhood imaginations, we did end up crossing paths with their descendants. Tiny, feathered, clawed, and ironically delicious. Stay with me. So what about human ancestors? Okay, so we've established that modern humans, Homo sapiens, didn't roam the earth with dinosaurs. But here's a curveball. What about our ancestors? Not us exactly, but those distant, hairy little cousins of ours. Did they live alongside dinosaurs? Let's rewind the evolutionary clock. Mammals during the age of dinosaurs. Believe it or not, mammals did exist during the Mesozoic era, same time dinosaurs ruled the planet. But let's manage expectations here. We're not talking about giant bipedal apes. We're talking about something more. Humble. Most Mesozoic mammals were small, nocturnal, and shaped like shrews or rats. They lived in burrows, climbed trees, and survived by not being noticed. Their job was simple: stay alive while dinosaurs dominated every major ecosystem. They ate insects, plants, maybe an occasional egg or two, and if they saw a dinosaur, they ran, fast. There are fossil records of early mammals like Repenomamus, which, interestingly, was one of the few larger Mesozoic mammals and even found with the remains of a baby dinosaur in its stomach. Yes, a rare case where a mammal might have snacked on a dino, but that's a far cry from humans feasting on T-Rex steaks. The primate family tree, still millions of years away. So, what about primates' our closer relatives? The earliest true primates didn't appear until around 55-60 million years ago, long after the extinction of non-avian dinosaurs. These early primates were called plesiadapiforms, and they resembled modern lemurs more than anything else. They lived in trees, had grasping fingers, and mostly ate fruit or insects. As evolution marched on, these early primates gave rise to monkeys, apes, and eventually us. But again, all of this happened in a post-dinosaur world. Let me be clear. Even the grandparents of our grandparents' ancestors never saw a dinosaur alive. There's just too much distance of millions of years between the extinction of the last dinosaur and the rise of the first primate. Why this matters? It's easy to imagine timelines overlapping when you see all those models in museums lined up in a neat little row: dinosaurs, mammoths, cavemen. But the reality is much messier and more awe-inspiring. Our species didn't just pop into the ruins of a dinosaur apocalypse. We are the result of that extinction. When the asteroid wiped out the dominant predators, it created a vacuum, a chance, a reset button. And out of that rubble, mammals thrived. We grew larger, bolder, more social. Our brains expanded. We began to see, not just survive. In a strange way, we owe our existence to the end of the dinosaurs. So, no, our ancestors never hunted dinosaurs. But they were there waiting in the wings watching a world fall so they could rise. And when they finally did, they walked into a planet forever changed. One that would eventually bring us face to face with something unexpected. A descendant of dinosaurs. Still alive. Still among us. And we started eating them. Let's talk about that next. But what about descendants of the dinosaurs? So if humans never walked alongside dinosaurs, why do scientists keep saying, birds are dinosaurs? Yeah, you heard that right. Not descended from, not cousins of, but literally, birds are dinosaurs. Let's unpack that. Around the late Jurassic and early Cretaceous periods, say, 150 to 100 million years ago, a strange group of dinosaurs began evolving feathers. Not for flight at first, likely for insulation. Maybe for mating displays. Maybe to glide. But these weren't your typical scaly movie monsters anymore. They were smaller, lighter, more agile. Some had wishbones, hollow bones, and even beaks instead of teeth. One of the most famous fossils ever discovered, Archaeopteryx, shows a creature that looks exactly like what you'd expect in a transitional species. Half bird, half dino, feathers, wings, and a long bony tail, teeth in the beak, clawed fingers. It was a dinosaur. But it was also, in a very real way, a bird. Over millions of years, these feathered theropods kept evolving. Some went extinct, but one lineage survived the asteroid. They made it through the cataclysm that wiped out their massive cousins. And they kept going, adapting, changing, shrinking, and flying. Until one day, they were everywhere. In trees, on rooftops, pecking at breadcrumbs in your driveway. So, are chickens dinosaurs? Yes. The chicken, that humble farmyard birdus, a direct descendant of theropod dinosaurs, the same group that includes velociraptors and T-Rex. In fact, genetic analysis has shown remarkable similarities between modern birds and their prehistoric ancestors. Their respiratory systems? Highly efficient, bird-like lungs trace back to dinosaur lineage. Their bone structures? Even the furcula, or wishbone, is present in both birds and predatory dinosaurs. Heck, scientists have even managed to switch on dormant genes in chicken embryos that cause them to grow dino-like snouts instead of beaks. It's as if the ancient blueprint is still there, just sleeping. So, are we eating dinosaurs? Absolutely. Every time you fry an egg, roast a turkey, or bite into that crispy chicken sandwich, you're literally consuming the last living lineage of the dinosaur age. Let that sink in. Dinosaurs aren't extinct. Not completely. They just shrunk, grew feathers, and adapted to survive in a changing world. And somewhere along the line, we domesticated them, seasoned them, and turned them into lunch. So maybe, just maybe, the answer to our original question is this. Did humans ever eat dinosaurs? Not in the way Hollywood imagined it, but in the only way that truly lasted. Yes, we do. We just call them chicken now. Is there evidence that ancient people ate dinosaur animals? Okay, so we've established that birds are dinosaurs. And yes, modern humans eat birds every day. But let's rewind just a bit. Long before delivery apps and deep fryers, did ancient humans actually hunt and eat any animals that were part of the dinosaur lineage? Like, not chickens in cages but big, wild, dinosaur-descended creatures? Surprisingly, yes. Let's start with Apiornis, the elephant bird of Madagascar. This thing stood over 10 feet tall, weighed nearly 1,000 pounds, and laid eggs the size of basketballs. It couldn't fly, but it could run, and it was a close relative of modern ostriches. Now here's where it gets juicy literally. Archaeological evidence suggests that early humans on Madagascar raided elephant bird nests, collected eggs, and very likely hunted the adults for food. We found tools, burned eggshell fragments, and even butchering marks on bones. And not long after humans arrived, the elephant bird vanished. Coincidence? Not likely. Then there's the moa, massive flightless bird that once roamed New Zealand. Some species grew over 12 feet tall and weighed 500 pounds. Think, dinosaur chicken, supersized. When the Maori people arrived in the 13th century, these birds became an immediate target. Why wouldn't they? Moa were slow, had no natural land predators, and were basically walking food banks. Within a few hundred years, all gone. Overhunting, combined with habitat loss, drove them to extinction. And again, we have cut marks, ash layers, and kitchen middens full of moa bones to prove it. Now let's talk Reptilis, specifically Megalania. This was a giant monitor lizard, basically a Komodo dragon on steroids living in ancient Australia. It could grow up to 23 feet long and weigh over 1,000 pounds. Was it a dinosaur? Not exactly, but it was part of the same evolutionary branch that includes creatures from the Mesozoic. And yes, early Aboriginal Australians likely encountered and possibly hunted Megalania. The fossil record is fragmentary, but the overlap in timeline and oral traditions suggest a prehistoric clash between humans and this reptilian monster. If you've ever grilled gator tail in the South, you've had a tiny taste of what that might have been like. There's a pattern here. Throughout early human history, any large, slow-moving, protein-packed animal was at serious risk the moment humans arrived, especially ones with no evolutionary defense against upright, tool-wielding hunters. And that includes many of the avian megafauna animals that weren't quite dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park sense, but were absolutely their evolutionary descendants. We didn't just eat them. We ate them into extinction. So no, we didn't sit around a campfire with a T-Rex leg on a spit. But our ancestors did taste the last echoes of the dinosaur age. They hunted towering birds, wrestled ancient lizards, and cracked open eggs that once held the DNA of giants. In a very real way, they weren't just surviving the ancient world. They were finishing it. What if we ate real dinosaurs? All right, let's get weird for a moment. We've accepted that modern humans never shared a campfire with a T-Rex, and that chickens are, in fact, tiny surviving dinosaurs. But here's a fun what if. What if we could eat a real dinosaur? Like bone-in, dino drumstick, prehistoric barbecue style. What would that meat be like? Would it taste like chicken? Would it kill us? Or would it be the ultimate paleo protein? Let's sink our teeth into this. First, what would dinosaur meat actually taste like? The best guess we have comes from looking at modern relatives. Birds and reptiles. Modern-day birds, especially poultry, have white meat, fast twitch muscle, and dark meat, slow twitch muscle, with a flavor range depending on their lifestyle. A turkey tastes different from a pigeon. A duck tastes different from a chicken. But a Tyrannosaurus rex? That's a 7-ton apex predator, constantly moving, lunging, tearing. Its meat would likely be dense, dark, and packed with myoglobin, more like a cross between ostrich, venison, and gator tail chewy, lean, probably gamey. Theropods like velociraptors? Sleek, fast, agile, probably, darker meat, rich in iron, not the kind of thing you'd deep fry. Would it be safe to eat? Now, here's where things get dicey. Even if we could somehow clone a dinosaur like in Jurassic Park and farm it for food, there are huge biological unknowns. Proteins and pathogens in ancient animals might be unrecognizable to the human immune system. You could be ingesting enzymes, parasites, or microbes your body has never encountered before. Think of it like this. There's a reason we cook pork and chicken thoroughly, because even our closest food sources can carry dangerous bacteria. Now imagine something that hasn't existed in 66 million years. One bite could be like eating an alien, delicious, but potentially deadly. And what about the gut flora? Every animal has a unique microbiome of millions of bacteria living in its gut. Dinosaurs were no exception. If you were to eat freshly butchered dinosaur meat, there's a good chance the bacteria inside could wreak havoc on your digestive system, not because it's toxic, but because your body would have no evolutionary experience dealing with it. And don't even get started on the smell. Reptile meat, when not fresh, can be aggressive. Would it be a delicacy? Let's assume we genetically engineer a dino ranch in the year 2100. Would people eat dinosaur meat? Oh, absolutely. Humans have eaten blowfish that can kill you in minutes. Raw monkey brains, not recommended. Fermented shark soaked in ammonia. And let's not forget, escargot. If there were a limited batch of legal lab-grown Triceratops tenderloin on a 5-star menu, you can bet someone would pay $10,000 a plate for it minimum. But beyond taste, there's something existential. Eating a dinosaur wouldn't just be a meal, it would be a psychological trip through time. You wouldn't just be chewing on flesh, you'd be consuming a creature that once roamed a world before flowers, before the Atlantic Ocean even opened up, before mammals ever roared. Every bite would be a reminder of Earth's ancient brutality of evolution's long, winding path. It's almost spiritual, in a way. And maybe that's why we're so fascinated by the idea. Not because we need to eat a dinosaur, but because deep down, we want to feel connected to that raw, untamed world we came from. So what would happen if you ate a real dinosaur? You might survive. You might get sick. You might get rich selling TikToks of the experience. But one thing's for sure. You'd never look at chicken nuggets the same way again. So now, I want to hear from you. If we could ethically clone a dinosaur safe, sustainable, scientifically sound, would you try it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this mix of science, storytelling, and what if, wonder, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into nature, time, and everything in between. Because history isn't just behind us. Sometimes, it's what's for dinner.